At a hearing last month, the former acting commissioner of the IRS, Stephen Miller, insisted the targeting of Tea Party groups was conceived and carried out by agents in Ohio without Washington knowing.
People in Cincinnati decided, let's start grouping these cases. Let's centralize these cases.
But congressional investigators are hearing a different story from IRS agents in Cincinnati. One of them, Elizabeth Hofacre, said starting in 2010, she was instructed to clear all the letters she sent to Tea Party groups through an IRS lawyer in Washington, D.C.
I'm going to start with a round of questions. Mostly these are pretty much yes or no, if at all possible. Ms. Hofacre, is it true that you were unable to close any Tea Party cases because you were waiting on guidance from Mr. Hull?
Yes.
Mr. Hull, why were you unable to give Ms. Hofacre guidance she needed? And I guess I will abbreviate it by saying, were you waiting on answers from Chief Counsel and Lois Lerner, and is that effectively what your opening testimony said?
I was waiting for the word from Chief Counsel as to how to proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Hull, you testified that you made recommendation in these cases. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And under some caution of 6103, you're not prepared to tell us your recommendations at this time. Is that correct?
I'm prepared to tell you that one was an application that I was saying should be exempt, should be recognized as exempt, and one was an application I said that should be denied.
Okay, so there were applications recommended yes, an application recommended no. Were those heeded to your knowledge? In other words, did they agree with your recommendation and act on it, or did they not act on it?
It was after that time that I was told additional information was needed on those cases.
So it's fair to say that when you recommended a yes, you got told, go get more information.
Correct.
Mr. Hull, you have 48 years of experience. Throughout those 48 years, did you ordinarily, for similar cases to the ones you're speaking, have enough fact to close these cases, and were you often overruled in those decisions?
I don't recall that I was overruled, sir. I'm not sure. It goes back a long way. I can't say for certain.
And with your 48 years of experience, your recommendation was that these cases should be treated as individuals, but in fact they were treated as a group over your recommendation. Is that correct?
I recommended each organization as I saw fit, those two organizations.
Thank you. Could we put up the slide? Okay. Mr. Hull, Mr. Cito, one of your superiors in Washington, told the committee staff that Lois Lerner sent him an email saying that, these cases need to go through and the A is out, but a multi-tiered review, and they will eventually have to go to Ms. Lerner's senior advisor and the chief counsel's office. Is this consistent with the instructions you received?
I don't ever recall seeing that in a memo, sir.
But is it consistent with the instructions you believe you received?
Yes.
In your experience, is that unusual?
Yes, that is unusual.
Particularly the multi-tiered process of essentially belt and suspenders. Is that correct?
Oftentimes there was more than one reviewer, but multi-tiered is unusual.
Ms. Hofacre, to your knowledge, do you know of anyone that you would say, in your opinion, had political motives in the role of treating of Tea Party groups?
No, I do not.
Mr. Hull, do you know, to your personal knowledge, of anyone in Washington? Obviously, I was asking Ms. Hofacre primarily Cincinnati, but in Washington or Cincinnati, for either of you, that you know had political motives against the Tea Party groups?
No, sir.
Do you have any personal knowledge of Lois Lerner's politics, activities, or motives?
No, sir.
Lastly, one of the challenges that we have here is determining whether or not specifically there was special treatment in your knowledge of Teaparty groups. And Ms. Hofacre, you've said you only worked on Teaparty groups. Is that correct?
In 2010, that is correct.
Okay. So at that time, your experience is that the special treatment that you experienced was specifically related to groups who had been gathered. Some 298 is a number we have during the 10 year and 471 to date for special treatment. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Mr. Hull, you have 48 years of service, and I can't say that enough without realizing what a unique, long career that is. Can you give us a single valid reason for groups to be lumped together and not granted for this long period of time? I'm realizing you didn't look at all of these, but can you give us a reason where in history you'd seen that kind of lumping together of people, primarily 501c4s, and the kind of delays, this nearly 3 years delay and still counting?
I don't think I can answer that question, sir.
But you don't have any experience of seeing it before?
I have no experience on it.
Thank you. We now go to the ranking member.